Hi, everyone. This is Andrea Trank. I'm just going to do a quick SOS session for super tight hamstrings. And this was a request made by my son who said, Mom, can you just do a session for tight hamstrings and leave out all your other stuff like meditations and mudras and things like that? So this is for people who just need to loosen up their hamstrings. And I'm going to do it according to the philosophy of gentle somatic yoga. And in gentle somatic yoga, we don't even talk about stretching. What we talk about is restoring range of motion and releasing chronic tension. So everything I do is based on that and not stretching. And I can go into lots of details why stretching is not always the right approach for these things. So let's see. I'll give you some practices standing up and then on the ground as well. Okay. So the first thing to do when you have super tight hamstrings is to not do this, right? Your hamstrings are already tight. You're going to hurt your back. If your hamstrings are so tight, what you're doing is you're injuring your back by doing a forward fold. So what we're going to do is we're going to contract the muscle first and then release it. So one of the ways that I think can be really helpful is in some sort of lunge position. And when you contract the muscle, you're shortening it. So I'm shortening the muscle here. I'm actually tucking my butt under and shortening the muscle, and then I'm lengthening it. I'm shortening the muscle. This is the back muscle, and lengthening it. Shortening it and lengthening it. So that's step one. And then you would obviously do it on the other side. Shorten the muscle. So you shorten the hamstring muscle by bending the knee, because two of the hamstring muscles cross the back of the knee. You lengthen it by stretching out the leg. Shorten that muscle, lengthen it, shorten it, and lengthen it. Okay, so that's something you could do standing up. You could even do that against the wall. The other way to shorten a hamstring muscle is by bending it up like this, right? So this is shortened. Well, actually, this is really shortening the quad. So really, if you're going to shorten the hamstring muscle, you're going to lengthen the quad muscle. So this is shortening the hamstring muscle. You're working the opposing muscle, the quad muscle. Now, if you want to play around with something like this, you could flex the foot, bend the toes back, flex and bend the toes back. Now, this can be kind of challenging for some people. It's hard to grab the foot. If you have a strap, you could use a strap. And the way you would do that is take it around the ankle, flex and bend, flex and bend, flex and bend. That's another thing you could do. All right. Most of the ways to help the hamstring are done laying on your back. So come join me on your backs. If you need something under your head, you don't want it to be too elevated. And so, all right, getting comfortable on my back. And again, a lot of the ways to work the hamstring is about contracting and then lengthening. So I'm shortening the muscle all back here. And then when my foot goes up, I'm lengthening. I'm shortening it, I'm lengthening it. Same thing with the foot. When you do this stuff with the foot, and I've got a really tender muscle down near my ankle, bending and flexing and straightening, that works it as well. When I keep my knee bent like this, I am not getting all of the muscles lengthened. I'm only getting the muscle attachment up here. If I want to get to the muscle attachment down there, I actually have to figure out how to lengthen this. And here is one way to use a strap to do this. So I'm going to take a strap and put it around my ankle. I'm going to cross it in front of the calf, put it behind the calf, and then that allows my knee to straighten more. Now, I might not be able to get my leg all the way up here. My leg might go here to be able to straighten. And at that point, I'm able to get into all the hamstring area. So once again, you might want to work that foot a little bit. That all the muscles are connected. So I'm getting the calf, I'm getting the Achilles. There may be other things involved in a super tight hamstring. It could even be pulled at from your low back. It could be compensating for something going on with your low back. Again, make sure to do that on both feet. So it goes around toward the heel, crosses in front of the ankle, crosses behind the calf. You grab it here. And then maybe point and flex. Again, you're trying to get that knee straight if you can. Go as far down as you need to. So in other words, I'm not up like this. I'm further away. And I'm going back and forth. So that's another thing you can do. And let's see, in terms of my gentle somatic yoga practices, a lot of those practices are done as working, some of the smaller muscles in the joint. And really, again, your hamstrings are so connected to the hips, to the low back. So you could do some sort of rocking back and forth. Now, when we rock like this, I want you to notice when you're rocking towards yourself, the hips and the rib cage are coming closer, your knees are coming closer. When you rock away, you're pressing into the feet, the knees are moving farther away, you're creating a little more space on your low back. So this is, again, some of the accessory muscles. It's not necessarily all focused on the hamstring, but your hamstrings are connected to all these muscles. So if there's something going on in the hips and in the low back, then these are all pulling on each other. And then one of the other things, again, sometimes tight tight quads could be also affecting your hamstrings, or quads that are not as strong as your hamstrings. So we have to work the opposing muscle. And instead of doing like a normal bridge pose, when you do a normal bridge pose, you end up squeezing the butt and working the hamstrings too much. When you do a bridge pose with a block between your thighs, you transfer the work to the front of the legs, and creating balances in our muscles can sometimes take the pressure off of these muscles. So oftentimes when we have a super tight set of muscles, it's because our other muscles are weak. And so strengthening the opposing muscles is another technique that I would suggest. All right, now let's roll over and come to seated. And one of the things that I've noticed with tight hamstrings, rather than just do like legs in front of you, forward folding, I would do a leg off to the side and maybe one in, and focus on one leg at a time. So face this leg, and we're going to first just lean over to test our initial range of motion. So the initial range of motion could be blocked off by super tight hamstrings. Don't yank, don't pull, just like this. All right, so this is where I am. My head's about 18 inches from my knee. All right, so now I want you to lift up with an inhale. Just fall over gently with an exhale, but don't stay there. Come back. Lift up with an inhale. Fall over with an exhale. Come back. Third time, lift up and fall over. Now sit here for a moment and let's reverse this movement. Inhaling first, exhaling, reach forward and lift up. Inhaling, exhaling, reach forward and lift up. And third time, exhaling, reach forward and lift up. Now bend this knee. Place the head as close to the knee as it will go, but imagine that you have like a rope here and you can't change the distance of the head to the knee. So you're sliding down, sliding down, sliding down. And at some point, you're not going to be able to keep the head close to it. So then just allow the leg to shoot off completely on its own till it's flat and come up. And now let's go over and see if we've gained range of motion. So I'm now about 8 inches away. So I've gained 10 inches in that little routine. So just go ahead and sit up for a minute. Bend this knee back. Now lift up the knee. Lower the knee and twist off. Lift up the knee. Lower the knee and twist off. And third time, lift it up and lower it. Let's go ahead and place both legs in front of us, arms behind the back, hands pointed away from you. Just go ahead and release everything, including the instructions, and set up for the other side. So let's check our range of motion initially. So again, this one I'm about maybe 13, 14 inches away, a little more range of motion. Reach up to the sky with an inhale, forward fold with an exhale, come back. Inhaling and exhaling. Don't go too deep, don't push it, don't hold, don't strain, don't overstretch. When you overstretch, your body does the opposite of what you want it to do. It tightens up to protect the muscle. So that's why we're doing safe range of motion. So sit here for a moment. Now take an inhale, lengthen in front, reach up to the sky. Lengthen in front on the exhale. Inhale, lifting it up. And third time, lengthen in front and lift it up. Now bend this knee, place the head as close to the knee as it's able to go. Begin to start shifting the foot away. So what we're trying to do is maintain a pretty equal distance between the head and the knee until you get to the point where your head can no longer be there. Allow the knee to completely go down so that you are now lengthen down. See how your range of motion is. And come up and release it. Let's bend this leg back gently. Shifting over in a twist. When you come back from the twist, lift up this knee. Shifting over in a twist. When you come back, lift up the knee. And third time, lift up the knee. All right, we'll just show you one more practice that might be helpful. And you can do this just on hands and knees, or you can do it through a downward facing dog. And if you're doing it on hands and knees, you're taking one leg out, and then you're going back, and then you're releasing it. So once again, the whole idea with gentle somatic yoga is we are retraining the nervous system to engage a muscle and disengage it. And you could add it on engage and disengage, engage and disengage and engage. Let's do the other leg. Engage the muscle by tucking that toes in Disengage it by bringing the leg in. Engage that muscle and disengage. And third time, engage and disengage. Now, if you want to do this through a dog, you'll shift up. You'll try to lower the heels, straightening the knees a little bit. I have a hard time doing this. Be very careful that you're not taxing your back. So this is Andrea Trank. I hope this little SOS practice for very tight hamstrings was helpful. And this is dedicated to my son, Daniel Trank. Namaste.